Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Schulz. Today's story is an Eskimo folktale. This is one where a little boy grows up. What the Man in the Moon Did. Long ago, there was a poor little orphan boy who had no home and no one to protect him. All the inhabitants of the village neglected and abused him. He was not allowed to sleep in any of the huts, but one family permitted him to lie outside in the cold passage among the dogs who were his pillows and his quilt. They gave him no good meat, but flung him bits of tough walrus hide such as they gave to the dogs, and he was obliged to gnaw it as the dogs did, for he had no knife. The only one who took pity on him was a young girl, and she gave him a small piece of iron for a knife. "You must keep it hidden, or the men will take it from you," she said. He did not grow at all because he had so little food. He remained poor little Quadjack, and led a miserable life. He did not dare even to join in the play of the boys, for they called him a poor little shriveled bag of bones, and were always imposing upon him on account of his weakness. When the people gathered in the singing house, he used to lie in the passage and peep over the threshold. Now and then, a man would take him by the nose and lift him into the house and make him carry out a jar of water. It was so large and heavy that he had to take hold of it with both hands and his teeth. Because he was so often lifted by his nose, it grew very large, but he remained small and weak. At last, the Man in the Moon, who protects all the Eskimo orphans, noticed how the men ill-treated Quadjack and came down to help him. He harnessed his dappled dog to his sledge and drove down. When he was near the hut, he stopped the dog and called out, "Quadjack, come out!" The boy thought it was one of the men who wanted to plague him and said, "I will not come out. Go away." "Come out, Quadjack," said the Man in the Moon, and his voice sounded softer than the voices of the men. But still the boy hesitated and said, "You will cuff me." "No, I will not hurt you. Come out," said the Moon Man. Then Quadjack came slowly out. But when he saw who it was, he was even more frightened than if it had been one of the men standing there. The Moon Man took him to a place where there were many large boulders, and made him lie across one as if he were to be paddled. Quadjack was scared, but he did not dare disobey. The Man from the Moon took a long, thin ray of moonlight and whipped the boy softly with it. "Do you feel stronger?" he asked. "Yes, I feel a little stronger," said the lad. "Then lift yon boulder," said the man. But Quadjack was not able to lift it, so he was whipped again. "Do you feel stronger now?" asked the man. "Yes, I feel stronger," said Quadjack. "Then lift the boulder." But again he was not able to lift the stone more than a foot from the ground, and he had to be whipped again. After the third time he was so strong that he lifted the boulder as if it had been a pebble. "That will do now," said the Man from the Moon. "Rays of light, even from the moon, will give you strength. Tomorrow morning I shall send 3 bears, then you may show what power you have." The man got into his sledge and went back to his place in the moon. Every time a moonbeam had hit Quadjack, he had felt himself growing. His feet began first and became enormously large, and when the man left him, he found himself a good-sized man. In the morning he waited for the bears, and 3 bears did really come, growling and looking so fierce that the men of the village ran into their huts and shut their doors. But Quadjack put on his boots and ran down to the ice where the bears were. The men peering out of the window holes said, "Can that be Quadjack? The bears will eat the foolish fellow." But he seized one by its hind legs and smashed its head on an iceberg near which it was standing. The next one fared no better, but the third one he took in his arms, and carried it up to the village, and, let it eat some of his persecutors. "That is for abusing me," he cried. "That is for ill-treating me." Those that he did not kill ran away, never to return. Only a few who had been kind to him when he was a poor, skinny boy were spared. Among them, of course, was the girl who had given him the knife, and she became his wife. And that is the Eskimo tale, captured in a treasury of Eskimo tales, of what the man in the moon did. And in it we have the man in the moon, who is the guardian of all orphans, taking care of an orphan, helping him grow strong, and turn a wild bear against the villagers that didn't treat him very well. This is Dan Schultz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, Overcast, anywhere you like to get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter at Folktale Project. You can find us on Auto Radio, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio. And you can always head over to folktaleproject.com, where you'll find a new story waiting for you every weekday morning. And if you do listen on Apple Podcasts, please head over and leave a review. Thanks for listening.